What's good with you guys tonight? How you doing? It's your man Donald King, back at it again. Crazy times. You know, when you can't see anything beyond winning, it makes you dumb. When the only thing you can think about is winning, it makes you dumb. It compromises your intellect. It's big in the news right now, but apparently a bunch of people went crashing into the Capitol building or whatnot, trying to force their will onto the, democratic process and whatnot. When all you see is winning, it makes you dumb. When you don't, when the only thing that's on your mind is competing, again, it compromises your intellect. You don't think shit through. And that is the problem with being an ideologue. I refer to this several times in my work, but an ideologue is, for all intents and purposes, an aggressor parasite. An aggressor parasite, its only programming, its only mode, its only way of thinking is winning. Think about it in terms of a disease. A virion isn't really concerned about the well-being of the body it's trying to overtake and subdue. It's not concerned with maintaining the system it depends on for survival. Its only mind state, its only way of viewing the world and viewing the host it's within, and then viewing reality, it falls basically to competition. I have to compete, I have to win, I have to compete, I have to win. I have to consume. The addiction to competition, the addiction to gaming. This is what motivates the aggressor parasite. Again, as I've mentioned before, narcissism, competition, and aggression, they're a trinity. They go hand in hand. If you're an aggressive person, you're a narcissist. If you're a narcissist, you're aggressive and you're competitive. If you're competitive, then you're aggressive and narcissistic. It makes you dumb. Competition is an addiction. Gaming is an addiction. You know this. You see people go to Gamblers Anonymous all the time. You see people get addicted to gambling, but the way that humans view it, they view it wrong. It's not an addiction to gambling per se. It's not addiction to the payoff, even though that is part of it. The addiction is the gaming itself. Humans tend to see the entire world through a lens of competition, as do all parasitic and viral species. Everything is about compete, compete, compete. I have to be the loudest virion. I have to steer the most attention and resources to me so that I'm comfortable and secure ahead of everyone else. The parasitic mind, it's selfish. It's stupid. It prioritizes authority and capturing authority from others in the form of competition over and ahead of reality itself, over and ahead of its condition within reality. When all you want to do is win, you don't think shit through. Liken it to any other type of addiction you can think of. If all you want is crack, you don't think shit through. You have brief moments of clarity that help get you to your goal, get you to that high that you're looking for, but once you get that high, you don't know the next steps. You haven't thought the next steps through. All those people who went storming the courthouse today, or the building on the hill or whatever, they didn't think any of that shit through. The only thing they wanted to do was win. Only thing they wanted to do was win. When you want to win, you can just create objectives in your mind that you have to accomplish that arbitrarily imbue you with power and authority, when in reality, they have no meaning or significance whatsoever. When all you want to do is win, you become a threat and a danger to yourself and everyone around you. Cowardly ideologues. Cowardly ideologues. All they want to do is win. They want to get that high. They want to get that payoff, that chemical reward. Gaming. As I mentioned in the description of this video, anywhere, I'd say, and I'm saying this kind of looking through the avatar perspective when I say it, I'd say anywhere between 60 to 80% of deaths in this species are caused by and or in some part due to gaming. All the deaths from war and warfare. It's a fucking game. Warfare is gaming. In a game, there is a hero and a villain. There is a winner and a loser. For instance, serial killers. Just look at serial killers. They're playing a fucking game in their head. They're playing a game in which they're the protagonist. Whoever they're stalking and preying upon are the villains, and their job is to neutralize the threat so that they can feel like winners. Tyrants and the sycophants that support them are gaming. Racists are gaming. Nationalists are gaming. Ideologues that support religious factions are gaming. High stakes games. In these games, you can get maimed or even die, but the desire to compete and win takes precedence over the reality of the consequence. Gaming. Every criminal enterprise you can think of. Gaming. The legal justice system. Gaming. Cops going out and capturing bad guys and killing bad guys. It's a fucking game that they're playing, that they take very seriously. But it's still a game. Policymakers are playing a game. Voting and elections, all that shit is a game. Even sitting in a courtroom and allowing people to decide the future of someone who's been accused of a crime, it's a fucking game. Humans think that they can solve all of their problems with gaming. A popularity contest, which is what an election is. A popularity contest is, which is what an election is. It's a game. It's a fucking game. And the worst part about it is, gaming is what I refer to in my work as a conceptual substance. A conceptual substance is just like any controlled substance. You get a hit, you want more. It's so funny. I was looking at Trevor Noah's, one of his old stand-up specials. And he was talking about how it's so different here in the United States. Now, this is a worldly man. He's traveled around. He's been to different countries. He's very knowledgeable, highly intelligent guy. He made note of the fact that in America, you don't just have the sports match. You have shows leading up to the sports match where people get paid to sit around and speculate the outcome. And then you have shows after the fact where people sit around and debate over what others could have done better in the way of performance. But it's not just the sport. It's entire industries and shows built around the sport. If you're addicted to competition, you're addicted. If you're addicted to competition, then you're addicted to aggression. If you're addicted to aggression, you're addicted to narcissism. And if you're addicted to any of those things, guess what? You're more than likely going to be addicted to other things. Do you think that it's any coincidence that drug use in this country is insanely high? All of a sudden you had a couple years back, you have all these people who are meth heads and strung out on heroin, dying everywhere. In a country that sort of passively indulges and promotes and pushes the most dangerous substance of all, competition. Competition doesn't make you better, it makes you dumb. The desire to win doesn't make you smarter, it makes you dumb. You see how many people come to me on my posts trying to fight all the time? 9 out of 10 times, they don't even understand the fucking post. They just want to compete and win. They're like, "Oh, Donald King, you look like a formidable opponent. If I can defeat you, it will enhance my identity." Again, narcissism is an addiction to self-idealizing. When you compete, when you game, the goal is ultimately to enhance your identity. To enhance you. To imbue you with authority, either within that context or over individuals performing within the context, but it still circles back to self-idealizing. It makes you think and behave like a fucking aggressor parasite. There's a woman who got shot down in D.C. today because a bunch of people took it upon themselves to arbitrarily decide and make agreements with themselves and with each other that this ill-thought-out plan was going to somehow make them win, allow them to get their way. No forethought, no real execution. Hey, let's just show up and try and force our will on shit. Somebody got killed. Look at this dude who's on his way out the White House right now. Narcissism, aggression, competition. They're triune. They're addictive. You know why narcissists can't concede or admit defeat or admit that they're wrong? Because that forces them into withdrawal. It forces them into withdrawal. The second you have to admit to failure or culpability, guess what? It interrupts your ability to self-idealize. If it interrupts your ability to self-idealize, then if what I'm saying about narcissism is correct, and it is, you immediately start experiencing withdrawal, painful withdrawal, in the form of cognitive dissonance and or aggression. It's all the same shit. It's all the same shit. You know, gaming. I mentioned before that 80% of anywhere from 60 to 80% of deaths in this species are a direct result of gaming, or at the very least, to some degree, gaming does impact upon it. So you would think that that seems in I would say unrealistic, but just a grossly exaggerated number that I put out, a grossly exaggerated statistic, but no, it's accurate. Now I want you to think about gaming at sort of the meta level of society, at the meta scale of plane. All right? So think about the meta scale of society. When these people out here gaming, let's say in just the economic realm. First of all, economy is gaming in itself. Economy. Think about it like this. If everyone has equal access to everything, then there's no such thing as an economy. An economy is what happens when someone perceives themselves to be an authority and then builds walls and infrastructure around access to resources, or they create select channels to access for resources and then dispense them according to how they see fit, generally taking care of themselves first. All right? So it becomes the haves and the haves not, the haves and the have-nots. An economy is gaming. Trying to see who can amass the most resources is fucking gaming. Now, when you think about that, you look at all the impoverished parts of the world, all the starving and dying children and families. It's a direct result of someone playing a stupid game of who can get the most resources. People are starving and dying, so fucking assholes can win in a game of who can capture the most resources. Entire ecosystems are destroyed. Industry builds up and then poisons the entire environment so that a handful of people can capture the most resources and feel important. Gaming. Look at it at a smaller scale of plane, right? Look at it at a smaller scale, like let's just say in like the hood. You got motherfuckers out here pimping. Pimping is gaming. You got people out here dealing drugs. It's gaming. Who can capture the most resources? At the expense of others. At the expense of the environment. Gaming is a fucking addiction. It makes you dumb. When you get really used to gaming, and you get used to gaming in a particular way and or within a given type of game, you lose the ability to understand how to transition your skills from one game to the next. So you got somebody who, let's say, is, I don't know, a hustler, low-level hustler in a trailer park. Well, the rules that apply to gaming in that frame, they don't necessarily translate into Wall Street, do they? Certain core principles might, but in the grand scheme of things, no. Jailhouse gaming versus gaming in other realms of society is very different. It's different sets of meanings. Things move differently. And when you're so addicted to winning that the only thing you know how to do is try to change things around so that they match what you know how to do, you put yourself at a deficit every time. It makes you dumb. Even worse, sometimes you bring your gaming, you bring your competition and your narcissism and your aggression to the wrong fucking ones. Right now, a bunch of people just turn their lives upside down, trying to prove a point that they never fucking thought out. Because they couldn't see anything beyond winning. A narcissist in power appealed to the narcissist within them, and all the addicts stood up together and said, "We're great. We can force reality to conform to our inner story." Will it pan out that way? Who knows? Society has a way of toggling back and forth to try and compete against the inevitable, but it doesn't do well in that way. Society tries to compete against reality, and it loses every time. Every time. Minor victories mean nothing. The minor victories within idealism mean nothing when you can do nothing to reality. If you get so lost in your addiction and high off your own supply, because I want you to keep in mind that when you do pursue and indulge in gaming, you get high. And when you ride in that high, kind of like when you're high on crack, you make stupid ass decisions because you can't think straight on your buzz. Y'all are high off the idea of competing against humans, and you bring your competition to entities you couldn't hope to prevail against. Yo, is anybody out there today? Am I talking to the wind? I know there's a lot going on in the world right now, so I don't know who's going to see this or who won't. But in the grand scheme of things, this is where we're at with it. It's an addiction. Do not equate satisfying your addiction with being godly. That's a problem with getting high. It fucks up your ability to think. It fucks up your ability to objectively assess and adjust and adapt in reality. So yeah, competition is an addiction. I mentioned this before, but to compete, what compete means seeking to dominate another individual or group. When you operate through a competitive mind state and outlook, you run around searching for shit to dominate, things to impose your will onto and or assert authority over. It makes you dumb. When you're trying to satisfy an addiction, when you're trying to get high because you're going through withdrawal, do you ever think straight? No. Again, I circle back to the point of people commenting on my posts and things of this nature. They never know how to make sense because they can't stop trying to win. They never know how to take in information and adjust because they can't stop trying to win. You get into disagreements with people, even people who are close to you, and you try to help them understand the situation and the frame, and they can never understand you because they can't stop trying to win. They can't stop self-idealizing and trying to defend the value and importance of their identity and the intactness of their inner story. Competition makes you dumb. It makes you dumb. And even worse, it distorts your perception of reality to a degree that you might fuck around and try and get your high from the wrong source. You bring your addiction to the wrong one and you chest thump against the wrong one, especially reality itself, or agents acting on its behalf, and you bring a world full of hurt on yourself. A world full of hurt. You have to stay away from competing. You have to stay away from self-idealizing. You have to stay away from indulging your aggression. This shit will get you fucked up. It's in the game. Right now, all the events that are happening in the world, with people trying to push these agendas that are centuries old, they're trying to win contests that only have relevance within their realm and scope of consideration. They're not cognizant of or even trying to understand the necessary consequences that come along with pursuing these courses of action. The only thing they want to do is win. It's like an analogy I like to use often. Brother Donald Jones, my bro. Love this man. You awesome. Hey man, yo, your spot is looking fire. Yo, I gotta come and see you out there, man. I tried to shout you out the other day, but yeah, I gotta come do the paint, the painting legacy bar. Yo, my man. But yeah, that's what I was saying. Competition, man, it makes you dumb. Yo, humans, y'all in for a world full of shit, man. I mean, again, a lot of y'all at the top of society, you're trying to win this game that was handed to you, and you don't even understand where the game is going. It's like you rush into the slaughterhouse. Y'all are racing to the slaughterhouse. Getting there first is not winning. At the very least, you should investigate and consult. Because this does not end well for you at all. And there will be no memories of victory to console you through what you're about to enter into. The only thing you'll have even remotely similar to a memory is a feeling of regret. That's the closest you'll have to a memory. And when I tell you what's coming is so incredibly, undescribably terrible, I'm not mincing words, and I'm not trying to embellish. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to anything. I'm just giving you a heads up. You got a little bit of time to try and turn shit around as best you can, because these contests that you've been playing, you messed with the big dogs now, and they basically and the agents performing through it doesn't play. Games only matter to Virion. They only matter to parasites. They don't matter to reality. In reality, this isn't a game. This isn't a game. This is play for keeps. For y'all. And reality is just like, yo, I'm going to purge the fuck out of here. Jesus Christ. All the damage that's been done in the name of gaming. All the children born with birth defects from all the factories that sprung up, from all the toxicity that poured into the environment. That counts against everyone who was part of it. All the imbalances, all of the imbalances that are caused by humans competing against each other to be the best, all the damage you just fucking cause in reality and to the body of the planet, it gets charged back to you. You can't just go into systems of reality and just willy-nilly destroy shit and just fuck shit up because it's like you're a character and you're all important. What the hell makes you think that reality is set up in a way that you can just go around and do whatever the fuck you want and that there are no consequences? If everything in reality is balanced, what makes you think you can do whatever the fuck you want in this life and then just exit without having to deal with some sort of consequence for the imbalance you've caused? If you go and you splash a puddle of water, does the water not come back? You throw something up in the air, doesn't gravity pull it right back down? If you go rushing against the wind, doesn't the environment as a static thing, doesn't it push back when you're moving with force? Isn't that what slows things down? And then once, like, let's say you fire a bullet through an environment, that ripple effect, that wave, once everything is split, doesn't it ultimately come back together? What makes you think that you can just go around and wreck shit and cause damage and hurt things for your amusement and satisfaction? What makes you think that you just get off scot-free once you're out of your flesh suit? Nothing in reality works that way. But as long as you're caught up in the game, you don't care. Winning is all that matters. You ever watch a movie where people are running and just wrecking shit like what was it in the Matrix? They're just breaking through people's apartments and running, just they're caught up. That Neo's running from the agents as fast as he can, and he's breaking through apartments, and they're coming in and they're just throwing shit and breaking stuff and all those other things. And hey, this struggle between us is more important than how we impact onto the environment around us. Now imagine if every agent in Neo, even in that scenario, imagine if something was there to account for everything that they destroyed through this little game they were playing of cat and mouse. And it said, hey, you destroyed that fruit stand, you destroyed this door, you destroyed this, you destroyed that, you destroyed this, da, 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 da. All of that shit gets charged back to you. Plus, we're going to add on for all the labor it's going to take to repair that. Plus, we're going to add on just for the fact that it's like we had to go and find labor. We had to go and find people to do the labor. So all of these things, they get charged back to you. That's how it works in reality. Reality is the perfect accountant. Reality is the perfect accountant. Every imbalance you cause and contribute to, it gets sourced back to you. That's the way every system works. Your feelings and beliefs are immaterial to that fact. Your games and the rules you come up with and agree to among yourselves or even within your own identities, they're immaterial to how reality works as a system. You're in for a bad fucking ride. Competition, narcissism, aggression. This trinity, when you open this channel up in you, you create a portal through which corruption can take hold of you and use you as a weapon against reality. That is when you become an agent of what religion refers to as Satan or the devil. Corruption. Society by extension of corruption and or by extension of parasitism is what religion refers to as the devil. When you practice pride, vanity, narcissism, when you practice gaming and competition, when you practice aggression, not tempering your spirit, not being honest, you create a channel for that thing to use you and then throw you away. And yeah, it's addictive as fuck. It's addictive. Being a narcissist, that shit is addictive. It's fun. Self-idealizing, it's fun. It feels good. Worshiping yourself in the mirror. Thinking about all the ways you're special as compared to others. It's fun. Feels good. So does competing and winning. It's fun. It feels good. So does aggression. Taking your anger and frustration out on things, releasing that shit into something, feels good. And if it didn't have a hefty price tag, I'd say indulge in it. But your pockets ain't deep enough to cover the spread of all the shit you do when you're high on yourself. Your pockets ain't deep enough. Period. Hey, Brother Donald Jones is back in. I used to be super competitive. Now I try to steer clear of competitive nature in beings. Not because I'm afraid, because I know what I'm capable of. Hey, you and me both. You and me both. That's a true story. Because it's like, you know what? I used to be highly competitive. I used to be a raging narcissist, man. I used to be a raging narcissist. And when you're a raging narcissist, you're highly competitive. And the downside to being highly competitive, at least in my experience, was that I had to prevail over people. And when I didn't prevail over people who I thought I should have prevailed over, I always felt broken and angry and envious and jealous. It makes you weak. Because it's like, you know what? When they were better than me, it forced me into instant withdrawal. That's why I experienced aggression and or cognitive dissonance. I'm supposed to be better than you. Why am I better than you? You're cheating. You're this. You're that. You think you're better than everybody. Yeah. I used to hate kid geniuses, right? I used to hate kid geniuses because here I was, an alleged genius. And I'm like, it's no fair. They grew up in an environment that gave them an advantage. And it never just dawned on me that, hey, they have talents and skills that I don't. I couldn't accept the fact because it's like in my mind, I had it that I deserved an opportunity to be just as great as them. And the greatest irony in that? I never learned my true level of talent until I stopped looking at everything through a lens of competition. When you stop looking at everything through a lens of competition, then all of a sudden, you get access to your true gifts. When you stop being a cowardly ideologue, at least for me, and I can only speak on my experience, when I stopped being a cowardly ideologue, all of a sudden, I became brilliant and talented. But I couldn't do that when everything was about, competing against people and trying to make sure somebody wasn't outshining me. You can't. You dimming somebody else's light isn't going to make yours shine any brighter. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way. It's something I had to learn the hard way. But, I'm glad that I ultimately did. But just getting that withdrawal. And I'll say it like this. When the type of competitor I was, always just felt like, and I always just knew, and to some degree, I have to say this is partially true, but I always knew that it's like, whatever anybody's doing, if I dial in, I can perform at their level. And that was just my experience at the time. And I was kind of like, yo, if they can do it, I can do it too. And then all of a sudden, I started to build an identity around this notion, this view and belief that I could match anybody's ability. A lot of times it panned out, but when it didn't, my entire sense of self came crumbling down. That's the problem with being a narcissist, man. You're always on a pendulum. Like 1 second, I was like a God-level genius. And then the next second, I was worthless and nothing. And again, all narcissism, it generally traces back to trauma. So I had a lot of childhood trauma. And my identity was this system of meanings and beliefs that I erected around me and sort of barricaded myself within. And anything that came along, especially reality itself and others performing within reality, that sort of undermined and challenged this wall, this construction of beliefs and meanings that I sort of erected around myself and cocooned myself within, it would send me into a spiral, dog. I would get straight up depressed because I wasn't how I envisioned myself. Reality showed me that I wasn't the story I told myself about the world around me and my place and value within it. It's too much. It's too much. I'm glad I learned how to fall back. Hopefully, hopefully I can put some gems out here that help other people learn how to manage and channel their aggression too, and channel their competitive spirits and sort of temper that shit. And narcissism, man, it's like, dog, it's once you get off that pony, it's kind of like getting off of a heavy controlled substance like crack. When you look at the stuff that you did when you were on crack, you're like, fuck. And it's embarrassing. I look at the stuff that I did when I was on narcissism, when I was high on narcissism and competitiveness and aggression, and it's like I'm embarrassed as fuck of what I did when I was high on my own supply. You feel me? I was it just made me feel I get embarrassed thinking about it, but I mean, you look back on it now and you're like, I'm glad that I have the presence of mind to be able to explain it in the way that I'm able to now, so that hopefully other people can learn from, my example and my folly, and maybe sort of sidestep some of them pitfalls themselves, So it's all good. Yo, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I was hoping I could have got more of y'all in on the podcast tonight, but I know it's a lot going on in the world, and y'all probably glued to the news and shit like that, or maybe I'm just not that captivated. Y'all already know I am on Facebook. Obviously, I'm shooting this on Facebook Live. You can catch me on Instagram, also on YouTube, and I also post the Medium. You can also support me on Patreon. I am Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13. And also, if you ever get any sort of love or appreciation from these podcasts and you just want to bless your boy with a little bit of la here or there, you can always hit me up on Cash App at Donnie Kang. And yeah, man. Hey, for those of y'all who tuned in, I appreciate you. I thank you kindly. Any and all proceeds, they go toward building this up to a larger platform. I'm trying to reach as many people as I can before I'm out of this flesh suit. And yeah, man, we're gonna politic and parlay. We're gonna get it. We'll get her done. I got some cookies I need to deliver now. I've been baking cookies, man. I do a lot of baking. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off now. I want y'all to really take some time to sort of reflect on your motivations towards things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not, and I want to say this the right way. Like, look, if you feel this really strong compulsion to compete and you can't stop competing, maybe it's time to start looking at it in a different way. Maybe it's not an asset. Maybe it's a liability. If it's a liability and it's interfering with your ability to learn things and to build and form and maintain relationships and to communicate and to get anything done outside of winning, then you know what? Maybe it's time to reevaluate why you feel the need to compete. It rarely does you any favors. At best, competition can imbue you with social authority for a short period of time. Fastest man is only the fastest man until the next fastest man comes along. The best fighter is only the best fighter until someone beats him or age does. Competition, it doesn't serve you in the grand scheme of things. Certainly not to the degree that understanding, honesty, and reasoning does. Yo, take care of yourselves, man. Stay sharp out here. Ideologues are in a frenzy. And my suggestion to you would be, do your best to not be an ideologue. It's your man. I'm out.